So we know that f of x and g of x are defined below with these graphs. So we're going to use these graphs to determine the limit. So A says the limit as x approaches 1 of f of x minus 3g of x. So we're going to use the properties of limits to break these apart. So I'm going to write this as the limit as x approaches 1 of f of x minus 3, I can bring it out because it's a constant, times the limit as x approaches 1 of g of x. So now I can use the graph to find my limit. So the limit as x approaches 1 of f of x. Remember, this is another way of saying what is the y value as x gets closer and closer to 1. So as x gets closer and closer to 1, notice coming from the right and coming from the left is the same limit. My limit's going to be negative 2. So let me go back here. Okay, so the limit as x approaches 1 of g of x, so as x approaches 1 from the left and as x approaches 1 from the right, the y value is going to 1. So I'm going to have this as 3 times 1, which will give me negative 5. Okay, for B, I'm trying to find the limit as x approaches 3. So once again, I'm going to use a little bit of the rules of properties of limits. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to separate the square root. So I'm going to write the square root of f of x over the square root of negative g of x. And then I'm going to find the limit as x approaches 3 of the square root of f of x. So remember, we're watching to see what happens to my y value as x gets closer and closer to 3. So as x gets closer and closer to 3, the y value from the left and from the right is getting closer to 2. So I'm going to have the square root of 2. For g, as x approaches 3 from the right and from the left, the y value is getting closer and closer to negative 1. So I'm going to have negative times negative 1, and that gives me the square root of 2. For part C, I want to find the limit as x approaches negative 3 of 2gx. So I'm going to write my constant in the front. So I'm going to find the limit as x approaches negative 3 of g of x. So as x approaches negative 3, from the left and from the right, it's going to be 2. So I'm going to have 2 times 2, which is 4.